What are you guys up to?
We're just watching some live-action remakes of cartoons.
Yeah, it's for a video essay we're making.
Wait, you guys bought this? This movie's end credits thank a government agency that literally owns a concentration camp, Mark.
Don't worry, we didn't buy it.
Then how did you get it?
Hi.
Hi. I was hoping I could sell this record player.
Okay. How much were you hoping to get for it?
I was thinking about 40 or so.
40?
Yeah.
Alright. Alright, so let me just see what the retail price is and just give me 1 second. Alright. Okay, so if you've come for a good deal, you've come to the right place.
Run.
Hey!
Mark could shoot a real good shot here and there, but his real talent lies in essay films and Italian essay films. Eric can see that his patience for live action remakes are run thin. It's time to take action, and he knows it.
Before we begin, here's a clip from Rango. And here's a similar clip from the Mulan remake.
Here's a question. Do one of these clips feel off to you? Maybe you can't tell. Let's slow it down.
Let's slow it way down.
Both of these scenes have the same gimmick, swinging the camera to the exact speed of the projectile. But the clip from Mulan doesn't work as well as the one in Rango because the camera isn't moving fast enough to capture the star in real life. In an animated film, you can control the movement of the camera and track the motion of the bottle.
It's nearly impossible to do that in real life since a camera operator can't move that fast. So, is there a way to pull off this cartoon trick in real life?
Hang on to that question. We'll get back to it.
The industry for nostalgia-based live-action remakes of animated movies has exploded over the past decade. Just this year, there have been remakes and reimaginings of 101 Dalmatians, Clifford, and Cowboy Bebop, with tons more on their way next year.
A question I've thought about lately, though, is this. Did anyone ever ask for these? I mean, the superhero genre is oversaturated too, but people had wanted to see the Avengers on screen for years. Where did the desire to see a medium that's renowned for its vibrant worlds, attention to detail, and expressive characters turn into a genre that's formulaic, lacking in polish, and stylistically bland come from? And what are similar, better films doing right compared to them?
My boy, we're pilgrims in an unholy land.
It's odd to think that remakes, which thrive off of copying something successful, have generally failed to make back any money, acclaim, or sequels. That all changed with Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland remake in 2010, which raked in over $1 billion despite getting mixed reviews. And we're not even gonna try to name all the live-action remakes in the past decade. There are just too many. From The Lion King, to Ghost in the Shell, to The Last Airbender, to the Mulan remake. Let's back up a bit. First off, why remake something? Besides that, the artistic point of a remake, reimagining, cover, what have you, is to get a different feeling out of the audience than the original. When you watch the Night of the Hunter's love and hate speech, you're hearing a murderous priest explain his motives to us. But when that same monologue is retold by Radio Raheem from Do the Right Thing, we see a new perspective on love and hate.
Instead of it being an internal struggle between a man's deranged convictions, it's now about the external tensions that divide and separate us. As Alina Belize puts it, it's almost the exact same speech, and yet due to the changes in delivery and context, the emotion it stirs within you is totally different. That's what a good remake does. It recontextualizes the idea in a new, compelling way.
A lot of these remakes are simply shallow mimicries of the emotions behind their animated counterparts. They're rarely interested in forging new ideas out of existing ones.
We always wanted the kind of core philosophy of Death Note, to still be there.
The way the old movie did it was the right way to do it, and we end up emulating that.
It's very true to the anime.
The irony is that by placing these animated, lively characters in a stiff, artificial environment, you're removing the expressiveness that people like them for. Space Jam 2 made this mistake, just like how The Last Airbender, Cats, and The Mummy 2 made it.
If you're going to make something live action feel animated, you need a director who understands the basics of how a cartoon operates and how the real world responds to that type of behavior.
As Ed from Eriq points out, there are a couple of ways to do this.
What does live action have over animation? It's real. Part of the thrill of watching something like Jackie Chan's movies is you know he's actually doing this stuff. This applies to long takes, elaborate stunts, practical effects, puppets, animatronics, or just a good performance.
Despite being marketed as live-action photorealistic recreations of cartoons, so many of these films rely on janky CG animation that creates a dissonance within the viewer's mind.
It's also important to consider the questions that drive the premise of your story. In 2015's Pan, the question of where did Peter Pan come from doesn't change or enhance the ideas of the original, it just regresses them. As Patton Oswalt put it, it's rock salt in place of ice cream.
A much better live-action reboot, Steven Spielberg's Hook, asks, what if Peter Pan grew up? This approach is more memorable because it expands upon the ideas of its source material rather than reverting to more basic questions. And it feels a lot like Peter Pan brought to life in large part because of how expressive Robin Williams is as an actor.
In fact, a common complaint about these reboots is that they feel stiff, inexpressive, and unnatural.
Yes. Bumblebee, stop lubricating the pack.
Can you hear me? Do you know what city you're in?
My name is Ong, and I'm the Avatar.
You're not a kid.
Here's the thing though, there are movies shot in live action that aren't like this, like Hero, Singing in the Rain, and Mission Impossible. In those films, the camera work, editing, and choreography of the actors is as fluid as water, to quote Bruce Lee. Why then aren't these cartoon and anime reboots just filmed like this? Why do the tones, directions, and performances of them feel so unnaturally bland and disjointed? Why does this happen time and time and time again?
On an ideal film set, the director and the actor will build a dynamic that involves each person using their own creative energy to build off the others. They'll discuss how each inflection and line delivery can be fine-tuned to fit in with the emotion of the scene.
But when a company tries to make at least 3 of the same type of movie a year, the stress of deadlines and shareholder demands forces it to cut corners and rush production. We've seen this over and over again with movies like Cats, Dark Phoenix, and Justice League, which became notoriously terrible experiences for their crew and actors. And if you're still on board the money means more than art train, you should also know that all of these movies failed at the box office. Hard.
So how exactly would you approach making a cartoon in real life? Whenever major studios adapt Dragon Ball or Beauty and the Beast or Ghost in the Shell into live action, they never get the Christopher Nolans or Steve McQueens of the industry. It's especially odd because some of the films they're adapting are regarded as the best of their genre and medium. So who would be the right fit for a task like this?
This guy's movies should have been the blueprint for live-action remakes since minute 1. Every single one of them has an incredible attention to detail in their precision, humor, editing, color schemes, and overall creative drive. And a large part of why Wright's films feel like such a blast of energy is because his storyboards are drawn and edited like cartoons. He's a perfect candidate for bringing animation to life.
Now you might be asking, if this guy is so good at what he does, why haven't larger studios hired him before? Well, he had previously been brought on to write and direct Ant-Man for over a decade, but left a year before its release due to creative differences with the company.
I was the writer-director on it, and then they wanted to do a draft without me, and, you know, having written all my other movies, that's kind of like, it's like a tough thing to kind of move forward thinking, oh, I don't, you know, if I do one of these movies, I would like to be the writer-director. Suddenly becoming like a director for hire on it, you're sort of less emotionally invested, and you know, you start to wonder why you're there, really.
This ties into why actors and other crew members don't seem to be giving fleshed out, expressive performances in these types of movies. These large-scale conglomerate studios consistently pump out sequels, remakes, and reboots. And instead of providing room for directors to lead the production in a creative way, the strategy is to just always play it safe. Here's Thomas Flight explaining this phenomenon as it relates to editing.
Toss in a producer or director who might be telling the editor to spice things up and make it faster or more exciting, while working in an environment that is pressuring you to get things done quickly and meet deadlines. All of this together, and you can easily see how the bad editing in a scene like this may not be the fault of the editor at all.
Oftentimes, instead of choosing a person who fits the role to a T, they'll pick a well-known celebrity with a large following. You see this in... what was it? Oh yeah, every single one of these. Even if some of these actors are better than others, you can't honestly tell me they keep casting white people in Asian roles because they're the right fit. They're doing it because you recognize them from Avengers and War of the Worlds. That's it.
Now, none of this is to say that directors and writers should just do whatever they want. Especially for blockbusters, you want all the collaborators to have some input on the final product. The final act of Star Wars was saved in the editing room, Back to the Future needed a rewrite because the set originally planned was too large scale, and the producers of Pirates toned down some of the more weird, confusing decisions Johnny Depp made while playing Jack Sparrow.
And the funny thing is, these movies function a lot like live-action cartoons, especially when you compare them to more recent cartoon remakes. So clearly, a bit of control is needed in the final product. But when too much is given to a studio, the result can feel like a more generalized, watered-down version of a classic.
Most animated films start off of being a new, exciting entity in their medium. They tend to experiment and explore the possibilities of how to engage with the audience. But when you're creating a remake, especially one made to exploit nostalgia, you often lose that creative drive to try out new ideas. As a result, you end up making something that's just stale, boring, or even offensive.
Ever been in a scuffle with your friend? And then, hey presto, there's a bottle being chucked at you.
So what do? Something very silly. You freeze, and your life doesn't flash before you because you're too freaking scared to think. You just freeze and pull a stupid face. But Orlando didn't. Why? Because he hadn't actually thrown the sword at all.
It had previously occurred to me that this shot is just too precise for there to not be tomfoolery. Is Orlando Bloom really such a good swordsman that he could throw one in that exact spot? Or did the camera trick you by swinging fast enough for you to not register that Will's still holding the sword, that nothing's flying through the air, and that this one is planted there beforehand? Oh, and try this on for size.
That's the value of hiring directors who are genuinely committed to their craft. They can take the same concept and reinvent it using the advantages of their medium. And that's ultimately what's missing from these reboots. Making a tune come to life isn't easy, as much as the suits wish it was. To bring an idea to the screen, you gotta get creative.
One of the things I really like about Addams Family is that it is very low tech. It doesn't have any CG or computer graphics for the hand, and I think the movie is better because of that.
They showed me this animated Japanese cartoon, and they said, we want to do that for real. I mean, to actually see that animation come to life, and believe me, essentially it has.
I read this one, and I could see straight away why they'd given it to me. Especially when you read the source material, it felt like it was, a license to let my imagination run riot a little bit.
I got excited listening to Gore explain his vision of the project because he has the energy of a little kid.
I started making films when I was a kid, action figures, doing stop motion films, a little bit of animation, a certain amount of live action.
Even though I'd never done a spy movie before, I think people could feel a spy vibe in The Incredibles. There was sneaking around and a certain amount of hiding in the shadows, even in The Incredibles.
You might be quick to call it cynical, but you'd be surprised by just how fed up people are getting with this kind of stuff. People have better taste than you give them credit for. They actually do have an eye for craftsmanship. For every action,
there's a reaction.
And an audience reaction.
It's quite a freaking thing.
It sucked. It kind of sucked if you like Avatar the show. I really didn't like it. It didn't explain things fully.
Did any of you guys like the movie?
Let's do this.
Well, still got these. What should we do with them?
Pitch them, burn them, chuck them in the Cape Fear River. No one should have to sit through this.
Hey, I'll drink to that.